introduce you with our first speaker of the day, Mohammad Ali Shahid. He has hand-on experience living in Saudi Arabia. He has special love and care. He is going to discuss today the energy sector and his experiences in Saudi Arabia. So over to you, Ali.
Hi all. I believe this presentation is being watched live across the globe. So thank you for joining us today. We'll all be talking about investment opportunities in Saudi Arabia, and more specifically to me, I'll be talking about the renewable energy sector in Saudi Arabia. So I just want to make sure if the slides are available. Yes, I am presenting the slides rightly. So just a bit of background about myself. I grew up in Saudi Arabia for a good part of my life. I spent 20 years in Saudi Arabia. I did my schooling in Saudi Arabia, went to UK to study, and then moved back to Saudi Arabia and joined consultancy sector where I worked for Colliers and then for KPMG, working on multi-million-dollar projects. It was across the sectors like real estate, energy, F&B, you name it. So I've worked for about 5 years in Saudi Arabia, moved to Australia in 2017, and have been working in the consultancy sector for 2 years and recently moved into the energy sector. Saudi Arabia is home to me. I've got my parents still living there, so there's a connection to Saudi Arabia which never ends, and obviously it won't end for the rest of the life. There's a lot of memories, and have actually seen Saudi Arabia change throughout those 20 years. More recently, I was in Saudi Arabia about 1 year ago, and I could see the time since I left in the last 2 years, how Saudi Arabia has shifted and actually made movements towards the betterment of the population and for the economy altogether. So today I'll be talking more specifically on the renewable energy side of things, because what I do have to say is before I really start on to diving deep into the renewable energy side of things, let me just move on to the first slide and we see where does Saudi Arabia really stand in terms of their greenhouse emissions. Actually, before this whole presentation started, I was actually talking to one of the other guest speakers in today's conference, Aliza Ayaz, and we had some good points to discuss. Aliza has done some work on climate change and whatnot. And she mentioned to me that Saudi Arabia ranked 9th in terms of the greenhouse emissions in 2018. And 40% of the MENA greenhouse emissions were coming out of Saudi Arabia. Now, those are drastic numbers, which definitely, obviously coming from an oil-based economy, as Dr. Musa was saying, Saudi Arabia has always been an oil-based economy. So once it is oil-based, you expect that there's going to be more burning of fossil fuel, which would eventually be used for your development of energy and whatnot. So if I was to look at it this way, if I just tell you what, until 2019, 57% of electricity generation in Saudi Arabia was being done from gas. Another 42% was being done from oil burning, and it was less than 1% in terms of renewable energy for Saudi Arabian electricity generation. Now those are drastic numbers, but as we see Saudi Arabia moving towards an economy which is more focused towards helping it moving out of this oil-based sector and then moving on to tourism and whatnot, they've also concentrated their efforts into developing the country as a more renewable and green country. So if I go to the next slide now, so where does Saudi Arabia really stand in terms of its position to generate renewable energy? Now, the thing with Saudi Arabia is the geographic location of Saudi Arabia. It just fits perfectly in terms of the solar side of things. It fits perfectly in terms of where the sunshines are, where the sunshine is, and how much daylight they get in a year. They've got some of the longest days in a year, which really help. So the average day in Saudi Arabia is like average sunshine day is about 9 hours a day, which is one of the hottest and longest days that you can expect in terms of generating solar energy. If we look at the wind side of things, Saudi Arabia has got wind speeds of 6 to 8 millimeters per second, which again, geographically, with the area that we have, you could put windmills across the country, like with the vast desert area, and you could be generating electricity, green energy, which doesn't really affect the atmosphere and the climate altogether. That said, so in terms of Saudi Arabia's geographical location for developing solar and wind plants, they are ideally located. Next up, just diving deep in terms of the solar position of Saudi Arabia, the Tabuk side of things, and the Tabuk side of things, the Asir side of things, these, like in terms of Saudi Arabia, where you could really target in terms of putting your solar plants. Saudi Arabian government has already done some research and studies as to what areas suit in terms of setting up solar plants for the country. Then they've also already started their research in terms of where do they see the high wind potential, like where do they see most of the winds and where you can really set up your wind farms and whatnot to generate electricity. So it kind of shows like Saudi Arabia has been putting in all the effort from the government side of things, and the right regulatory bodies having done the homework in terms of moving this economy away from being the oil-based economy to a more green economy, where they can really generate electricity from natural resources and not go for the fossil fuels. What have Saudi Arabia done in terms, what targets have they set for themselves in terms of renewable energy? Now, as I was mentioning, Saudi Arabia until 2018 for the maximum part were generating less than 1% of their electricity from renewable sources. This target, however, they have moved it up. In 2030, they expect to be generating roughly about 30% of their electricity from renewable sources. That's 58.7 gigawatts of electricity that they plan to generate, and that does not stop there. The government has plans to further increase it, where they do the long-term planning looks at expanding it to such a scale where they could actually be a net energy exporter to the closer region, to the MENA region countries surrounding Saudi Arabia. So it clearly shows that they've got a vision which they really want to move forward and move away from the oil economy and really diversify. For example, more recently, the NEOM that they are developing, the city of NEOM that they are developing, it's going to be 100% be based on sustainable energy. And at the same time, the Red Sea development, I was actually reading an article on Red Sea development that there has been reached a financial close on a 1,000 megawatt battery to be installed on that Red Sea islands that are being developed on the Red Sea close to Jeddah. So it's clearly showing the government's vision in terms of moving towards a greener economy, being more efficient in terms of the resources, how they use it, and not just setting the targets. They have actually taken some action and set up the right regulatory bodies and the support system for investors to look at it and then help them invest in that same sector. The next one, this is one of my favorite slides in the whole presentation, which clearly shows how much effort and homework has been done by the government and the agencies to set up the solar and wind farms across Saudi Arabia. So what the government has already done is they've done the preliminary studies, like in terms of solar, how many hours of daylight different regions receive, what's the ideal location for setting up a solar plant, what's the ideal location for setting up a wind plant. So they clearly are putting in the effort to actually move towards that, and they've actually shortlisted 35 parks where they believe they'll be setting up different solar and wind farms, and they've identified the locations as well. So if any investor is really looking to move on board, they've already reached two solar farms are already in operation in Saudi Arabia, and this clearly shows those were the first phase which reached first financial close. Then they were constructed, and now these 4 solar farms are already operational. That's roughly about 700 megawatts of capacity that these farms are already operational on. Let's just see. Okay, so now we're talking about what all has the government really done and the different sectors really done towards advancing this whole sector for the investors. So they have already done the pre-development studies, and they've done what they've done is they've done the geotechnical studies, energy yield studies, environmental studies, grid connection issues. So I currently am based in Australia, and we have got, I work at NL Green Power, and NL is one of the biggest energy producers in the world. The green energy that we produce is about 46 gigawatts across the globe. So we do face issues on a day-to-day basis in terms of grid connections and with the new plants, the grid issues, permitting issues and whatnot. But if you look at Saudi Arabia, what they've done with the different entities that they've set up is they've done all the preliminary studies, the pre-development issues, what investors or the developers of these solar farms or wind farms, the issues that they are likely to face. They've already done all this homework, and what they are doing is they're just looking for investors to come in and look and invest in this sector, which, to be honest, the way the targets that they've set, it's not something that you can just you'll just invest and then you'll benefit, you'll just be like a short-term investor. It's like a long-term investment. So they are really looking for you to commit to this, to Saudi Arabia in the long run, and they are actually committed from their end as well. They are committed to invest from the local government entities as well. If I look at what's happening right now, the different incentives that they are offering the investors in terms of, especially the international investors, to invest in this sector is really that they've moved away the custom duty. So they really are saying there's no custom duty on raw materials and manufacturing and spare parts which are not available in Saudi Arabia. What they have done is the most important one, especially for renewable energy projects, which are really heavy investments in terms of financing and whatnot. They have actually set up the whole SIDF, which is the Saudi Industrial Development Fund, which has been around for a while. They now are really focusing on these large-scale infrastructure developments where they're providing up to 75% of project financing, which really means you could be putting in 25% of equity, and the rest of it could be just debt financing, and you could start up your own project. The land incentives that they have, the leases on those lands, it's as cheap as 26 cents per square meter, which really is showing that it's a highly subsidized land lease that you are getting at. As Dr. Musa was just mentioning, the ownership structure is 100% foreign ownership. So you really don't need to have a local investor or local partner. You could really be an outside entity investing by yourself and reaping the benefits of that. Ultimately, you're contributing to the economy of Saudi Arabia, but at the same time, you could be an outsider and still be investing in Saudi Arabia without any issues. More importantly, what they are saying is they are not going to be holding back on your capital. If you have got benefits out of that investment, you could move your benefits out of Saudi Arabia as well, which clearly it's Saudi Arabia's way of inviting foreign investors into the sector, especially that the sector is relatively new in Saudi Arabia, and they want the foreign experience of the investors, and they want them to come in and expand the sector further. We really see that this is something that's going to be a focus in the coming, at least in the 5 years from now. I see there's going to be major changes on the sector for Saudi Arabia, and hoping that this actually goes as planned, because as we said, Saudi Arabia are sitting right in the center of the MENA region, is a hub which can drive the whole region together, and that's where we want to head in terms of Saudi Arabia. And the leaders have got the vision to drive that economy in the right direction. With the young youth that they have, it's very much possible. That's all in terms of that's already in terms of the renewable energy side of things, of how they are supporting the sector and how they are looking to expand on this sector. I mean, there are a lot of nitty-gritties which you do have to go through, but in terms of just giving a brief overview, I believe that's where we see the market going. And if anyone needs to go in deeper details, I'm happy to connect you to the right people and happy to make those introductions.
That's amazing.
If we have any questions, Dr. Musa.
Oh yes, I think we don't have questions, but I have comments about that. I remember like 15 years before, because I'm based in UAE and you were based in Saudi Arabia, and we are sort of brothers countries and share some common expertise and vision. So I remember that the focus of UAE government, they putting themselves into renewable energy and sustainability. And now in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, you can see that we have renewable energies, we have solar parks, we have everything that, and oil has been maybe remain only 20-25% for the production, which if you see the Saudi, as per your presentation and as per my knowledge, is the first thing that can transform a country energy scenario is the planning and the vision. So the way you express it and the vision of Saudi Arabian government and the leadership, I feel this is really an amazing plan, and of course it is already on implementation. And what I feel over the period of time, whatever my clients and friends, fellows who's invested in Saudi Arabia, they are really happy. They really love the country, they love the people, they love the food, they love the culture, and the revenues, the profitability. I mean, it is amazing. And so this is just
definitely. So if we look at the population of Saudi Arabia, like 60% of the population is under the age of 30. So it's it's a young population which is growing, and ultimately we see that the economy is going to grow along with this population. There's a lot more population growth that we expect, and there's going to be a lot more need of electricity, renewables, and whatnot, you say it. And then no matter whoever invests in this market right now, they can definitely see the benefits coming out of it. Definitely.
True. And the other is the geographical location of Saudi Arabia. If you see, like, it is connected with 3 continents, and there is a lot of potential to sell electricity to the neighbors if you have a surplus.
So if I was to dive deep into the whole presentation, the research that I've been doing, it clearly shows that at some point in time, Saudi Arabia will eventually become a net exporter of energy to the neighboring countries of UAE, Qatar, and whatnot. It depends on the needs of those countries, but ultimately, the plan really is to generate energy at such a scale where they can be net exporter of energy, and this energy again is not being generated from fossil fuels. It's just renewable energy at the end of the day. So it's just using the benefits of nature and generating electricity and helping other countries.
Yeah, you're right. And exporting it, of course, is going to contribute to the balance of payment and balance of trade for the Saudi Arabian government. And I think that would be a great vision of. And if you see the like other countries which are a little bit smaller in size, and this country is bigger in size. I mean, if you see, like 2 million square kilometer is the area. So, and the population is split on different part of the country. So means that the projects, standalone projects, wind, solar, they are required all around the country. And if you are on the borders country, so you can easily export it to Africa or to Middle East. And we know that there are some countries in Middle East, they are still in shortage, like Jordan and
exactly. The thing with these countries, the other countries that we have across the border are they are at shortage, and unfortunately they do not have the right infrastructure to invest in these type of projects. Whereas Saudi Arabia has put in all the efforts to make sure that there is a right way for the investors to invest in such projects. And ultimately, as you mentioned, and if you look at the map which shows where the 35 parks that they have thought about setting up, they're spread across the country, which means that this will not only generate jobs within those centrally Jeddah, Makkah, or like Jeddah, Riyadh, or Dammam side of things, but this will generate jobs across the country. And with the growing population,
and
that's
the Red Sea development is really amazing. If you see, that's a hidden treasure.
That hidden treasure, Dr. Musa, I was actually working on that project before I left Saudi Arabia. So I know that project, how they've been setting up. And I was actually reading up articles on recently how, because it's right in the sea, right? So it would be difficult to take electricity, provide electricity to that region. So what they've recently done is they've gone one step up, and they've what we call in the space of energy market is the batteries, the BESS, which really gets set up, and they have set up 1,000 megawatt battery for that specific project. Now that's the biggest battery in the world in terms of capacity. We do not have 1,000 megawatt battery anywhere in the world. So that clearly shows the government's commitment or the investors' commitment in such projects where they feel that this is the money, these are the projects which we can bank on today, and we'll get the benefits in the coming years.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that the investor across the globe who's listening to you, and later when these videos will go to the right people who are the decision makers, they are going to get a lot of insight from these statistics that you shared with the audience. I want to thank you for giving your time, and I'm looking forward to have you in some other shows for more and more interaction.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Musa. Thank you very much.